Hello, I am Carolyn Cushing, and it is my privilege to welcome you to this sixth year of Walking the Ways of the Summer Light. And I facilitate Soul Path Sanctuary, and you can find out more about the Soul Path Sanctuary and this course if you haven't signed up yet there. And I am very delighted to this year doing this, co-hosting this with.
Hi, I'm Yasbel Fernandez of YesSpiral.com, and I like to spiral into tarot and herbalism and yoga and being in nature, and that's how I got connected with Caroline to host this Wisdom Wander, Walking the Ways with you.
Very nice. Walking the Ways, it's a solstice-hinged ritual. It happened around every solstice for the past 6 years. And this year, every year is a little different. This year, we are doing it amidst a global pandemic. And so we might wander in a little bit of a different way. And we will take that in as learning. We're also starting this on Memorial Day weekend. And it's also, today is the day we've hit a grim milestone of 100,000 who have died because of COVID-19. And this is kind of in our field as we are wisdom wandering. And a place I've been wandering is in the cemetery. So just to take a moment to just pause and remember those who have died because of this pandemic, our own beloved dead, our ancestors that are here with us. All right, so with their support, we will move right into, Yasbel and I wanted to move you right into an experience that is kind of a microcosm, a whole bit of what we'll be doing all season. So we're gonna start with a meditation, and you're gonna be invited to close your eyes. We're also gonna have some visuals up in the screen. Yasbel, if you wanna put up that first slide. And do what feels right to you about looking, listening. Okay, so this is our elemental communing meditation. And yes, we'll go back to the earth one. Whoops.
Sorry.
There we go. That's perfect. That's perfect. So there is an image to look at, but also feel free to close your eyes. And it is about going inward and connecting with the 4 elements that guide us through the first 4 weeks as we wisdom wander our way toward the solstice, seeking questions instead of answers. All right. I invite you to bring your attention to your feet. And as you do that, you may want to give a soft gaze to the image in the video, or you may want to close your eyes. And with your feet connected to the earth, you're letting your awareness drop down. It's almost as if you have little tendrils, little rootlets on the bottom of your feet, and they are going down into the earth. They are going down into the soil. Let those tendrils drop down and be received by the earth. The tendrils are going into the soil that nurtures the plants, the soil that brings forth dandelion and yarrow and nettles and mullein. The soil that is the place where the roots of the trees grow. It helps you connect to oak, to ash, to cottonwood. And you feel that connection and that energy of plant and earth and soil now coming up to meet you. It's coming up through your feet, up through your legs. This earth energy is coming up and offering you support and grounding. And that earth energy is continuing to travel up through your stomach. Maybe you feel your stomach relax. Coming up through your chest. You feel your chest relax. Coming up to hold your heart. The earth energy arrives to hold and fill your heart. Take a moment to welcome the earth energy into your heart. Yes, we welcome the blessed and preserving earth which sustains us. And now, I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. Let the breath come into your body. Let it fill up your lungs. And as the breath is flowing into your body and filling up your lungs, feel how it opens and expands your heart. Let that invisible, wonderful breath enter and expand your heart. And with these in-breaths, say yes, say welcome, blessed and preserving air, giver of life. Now I'd like you to bring your attention back into your heart that's being held and supported by the earth and expanded by the air. Feel the beat of the heart. The beat of the heart is what helps the blood flow throughout the body. The blood that is your liquid flowing self. Imagine it running out and down and through you. Your life-giving blood. And maybe there's a place in your body that's tighter, stiffer. A place in your body where you visualize this blood, your liquid self, flowing and dissolving that tightness. Loosening up the emotions that have caused this distress in the body. And your liquid self just flows over it. And as the flowing is happening, you're saying to yourself, you're saying to the water within you, welcome, blessed and preserving water, which renews us. And now you're invited to bring your awareness to the tips of your fingers. Maybe you even want to touch your thumb to your forefinger. Gentle rubbing And you feel kind of a warmth there. And that is the fire contained within the trillions, the billions of cells in your body. Each one a little spark. A little spark you're feeling in your fingers. Maybe that awareness of the fire within you moves up into your arms. It flows into your heart held by earth, expanded by air, flowing with water. There is now a flame within your heart. You take a moment to feel or sense or imagine this flame glowing larger. And as it's growing larger, you are saying, "Welcome, blessed and preserving fire, which ignites our passions." And this flame within you is a mirror to the greater than. It's a mirror to spirit. It's a mirror to the divine that you can find in images of saints or gods or goddesses, in the mystery of the wind, within the plants and other beings, and even within the dandelion. And bring to mind a dandelion opening. And you may want to open your eyes and gaze on the dandelion image on the screen. It's opening like fire. It's closing and changing. It's resting. The dandelion is moving at its own pace, letting itself transform from one state to another with grace and ease. Going just at its own pace, like you will go as you wisdom wander your way in the solstice season. And here we say, "Welcome, blessed and preserving spirit that is within me, within the flower, within the whole, of which we are all a part." Opening ourselves up to be part of this whole. Just like the dandelion that we're imagining in our mind's eye or we're viewing on the screen. Opening up, bursting with its silken seeds, ready to renew the earth, to renew our souls, to renew the whole. Blessed be. Just before we move out of the meditation, I invite you to, if you've opened your eyes, close them for a moment. And imagine at the top of your head, a dandelion with its yellow flower opening. And now imagine the dandelion closing. So it's closing and sealing the energy of our meditation, of our imaginal wisdom wander, sealing that energy into you so you can have it as you move through the season. And then bring your attention to the bottom of your feet. It's almost as if on the bottom of your feet, there are flowers and they're open. Maybe they're dandelions or other spring ephemerals. But then they close. They're closing over your feet. They're sealing in that energy that the earth gave to you. They're sealing it so you can have it as you move forward into this season. And then you're invited to bring your palms together over your heart that has been the container for the elements. Maybe you bow your head down, kind of bowing to your elemental self, your elemental heart. And take a deep breath in to integrate the experience. And then you maybe want to move your palms parallel to the earth. Begin to move them a little bit. Feel that spark of the cells there. Begin to open your eyes a little bit softly. Maybe move a little more quickly. It's like you have that fire starter stick from a campfire there. And you're moving them very, very quickly. And then when you're ready, you throw your hands over your head. And you come back awake and alert and ready to hear more stories to help you prepare for the season. Okay, we're gonna keep the dandelion image up there on the screen for a little bit, and we're gonna transition into a little storytelling. And Yazbelt is going to present some ways of working with dandelion. And I will just set the stage by saying a little bit, Yazbelt and I decided to work together on this because we were at Reader's Studio, the tarot conference. We were going to do the rituals, but obviously Reader's Studio didn't happen. We were going to do an opening to wisdom ritual inspired by dandelion because the Herb Crafter Tarot was our deck that inspired us, and the dandelion is the Fool. And needless to say, that didn't happen. And but Yazbelt and I were in touch and talking about what was happening in pandemic times. And there's this message of, oh, I want to go back to normal, or we need to get back to normal. And we were like, we don't want to go back to normal. Normal is the place from where the problems spring. We can't turn things back. We need to make them better. We need to transform. So the theme became, so we just realized we're going to walk the ways together, and guided by dandelion as an overall guide, and to walk the path of transformation. Which is a little, it's not as clear because they're transforming. What's ahead, we don't know. We're trying to make it work. So that's a little bit of the story and a way we started to work together. And I think, Yazbelt, you're going to now continue talking about dandelion for us. Is that true?
Yes, it is true.
Excellent.
So one of the reasons why I thought that we should pick dandelion as part of the rituals for Reader Studio was because I wanted people to go away with a flower or herb that they could easily find anywhere. And dandelion is prolific. It grows all over the United States, even though it's not native to the United States. It originates in Europe and Asia. And when the colonizers came to the US and they went around the world, and every place that they colonized, they brought dandelion with them because it's so medicinal and it works as food. So while I was looking up information about dandelion, I went to this book that I have, and it talks about, it's called The Song of the Seven Herbs by Walking Nightbear and Stan Padilla. And he tells the folkloric story of dandelion, which I want to summarize for you now. It says that the story is about a Native American Indian medicine man named Cozy Agu, flower of the sun. Cozy had two friends, the eagle and the mountain lion. The eagle brought messages and medicines from the sky and high mountain tops, while the mountain lion gave Cozy strength of body and protection whenever it was needed. Together, the three worked in helping people. Cozy by caring for the patients, the eagle by flying and collecting herbs high in the mountains, and the mountain lion would help by digging up roots from the earth when they were needed. When the time came for the three friends to return to the earth, they asked to be buried in a meadow where a plant would grow. The flower would be like Cozy Agu's name and heart. The leaves would be like the teeth of the mountain lion, and the roots like the eggs of the excuse me, like the legs of the eagle. The plant would help all to get stronger in the body and spirit when one is sick, and it will serve as food when food is scarce, as you can eat it and make tea from it. The plant is known today as dandelion. So I just thought that was like a really nice story to think about dandelion and how it came to be. But as I mentioned, it's a medicinal plant that really assists the gut, liver, and kidneys. So that it assists so that the gut, liver, and kidneys function at their full potential. It's also really great. Dandelion is also really great for creating drainage channels in compacted soils. It also restores mineral health to abused soils and aerates and attracts earthworms to make soils beneficial in any garden. So I don't understand why people want to get rid of it. It just helps in every single way. Also, dandelions are loved by all animals, from bees to bears. So on this next page here, I created this page, and this is from Joanna's Herb Crafters Tarot. It says, follow your dream seeds, be audacious in your adventures, and seek wisdom in weeds. And I, when I was talking to Caroline about what to do at the ritual room, I immediately thought, we need to make a vinegar so that we could be bold and audacious. So I went to the farmer's market because I wasn't comfortable trying to find dandelion in the New York City parks. So even though this is what it looks like in New York City, it grows everywhere. It's really strong. When they tried to make Roundup, it was to kill dandelions. Roundup doesn't kill them. They still grow. And here you can see it is in flower and over here, and then over here is in seed. When I was growing up, I used to call these, I didn't know what they were called, but my friends and I would call them wishes. And we would go to the park to find wishes and to blow them. And when you do that, it moves the seeds and they can fly for like a long time. And that's how they spread so easily. So even when people pull them out by the roots, they still come back. And here I am when I went to look for dandelion at the farmer's market, and I went to a lot of different stalls, and this one had this chalk heart there telling me this is where it is. And
dandelion speaking to your heart. I love that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, let me check here. And then they had this dandelion, and I had my card with me, so here it is. And this is the bin where I got this micro, it's a fancy dandelion. This one is called micro red rib dandelion. So in this picture, I brought it home, and these are the tools that I used to make this vinegar. You could also drink dandelion as a tea. You could make an infusion with it. The difference between a tea and an infusion is like how long you steep it. A tea you would usually steep like 10-15 minutes, and an infusion of leaves like this, you would infuse it like 4 hours. And if you were to infuse the roots, then you should do 8 hours or overnight in order to make a strong medicinal tea that's going to be beneficial to your kidneys and liver. But if you wanted to make a vinegar, which I think is perfect for this time, is because it's going to be hot, and I like to eat salads in summer. So you could put it onto your salads, or you could just have it with you. Like I made one. So here's my little dandelion. So you could just sip it whenever you want to be bold and audacious. So the tools you'll need to make this dandelion vinegar are apple cider vinegar or the vinegar of your choice, but I just like apple cider vinegar because it has a lot of minerals in it already. And then the dandelion leaves, a jar. This is a jar that I'm just reusing, and parchment paper. And the reason why you want parchment paper is because the vinegar can rust the lid. So after you, then you're gonna put the dandelion in the jar. If you're gonna use fresh, you wanna fill up the jar like this, just loosely fill it up, and then just cover it with completely with vinegar. And then you put it on your windowsill or on your kitchen counter, and you leave it for 6 weeks. Which is another reason why I thought it would be perfect to make this, because we're gonna be together for 6 weeks. So we can start with the vinegar, and then once we're finished, then you can start drinking your vinegar to be bold and audacious. And once the 6 weeks have passed, then you can just decant it. So I made this video of me decanting the vinegar. So I just had a bottle there, another bottle that I reused, a funnel, and some cheesecloth. And then you just pour the vinegar out, and then you can drink it or use it as a salad. Yeah, and that's how you make a dandelion vinegar, and a little bit about dandelion.
Thank you, Yasbelt. So if people haven't done Walking the Ways before, this is a new innovation of making this overall tincture inspired by dandelion. And every week we are going to be led in the creation of a simple, what is it, Yasbelt? We're gonna do a tea,
So we're gonna make an infusion with nettles, and we're going to make a flower essence with yarrow, and we're going to make oil with plantain, and we're going to talk about herbal smokes with mullein. But I'll also give you alternatives if you don't want to do some of the other ones. Like even with dandelion, you can make an infusion. You can also make an oil with this. And you can make, I don't know about smoking dandelion, but yeah, a lot of the herbs are interchangeable. And you could definitely make a flower essence with dandelion as well.
I am totally not crafty but I feel like even I can do these things. So I'm excited to try it. And it does give you a different perspective when you ingest something related to the tarot. Many people know my story of getting a cake with the wheel from the Gaian Tarot on it and eating it. So it's part of my connection to the Gaian Tarot. So now we'll have this connection to the plants themselves, and then their tarot associations through connections to the herb crafter. Okay, so that, I think now what we're gonna move on to, and just so people know, I think some people might have a question or two in chat, but we will get to those in just a little bit. We will do questions in a little bit and review things. But I think if you stop screen sharing, I'm gonna do the little bit of the overview. That's where we are, right? Overview of the retreat and its practices. Okay, so the overview. The solstice, the summer solstice, June 21st, which is also the new moon and an eclipse. So there's a lot going on the solstice, and it's our hinge. It's always our hinge, but it's our hinge. And what we do is the 4 weeks going toward the solstice, we have an element that guides each week. It's earth, air, water, fire. Fire, so we end up on the solstice week. And each week we are connecting with the element, the actual elements. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with tarot. It's like going outside, but we weave in some things from our tarot tradition, and we can work with the cards as we go through our days. and maybe have a special time where we do a walk or something like that. And what we're doing in those 4 weeks is we are, sorry, I'm just letting someone in. We are walking out of our everyday way of being. You know, we're wisdom wandering, which may include sitting, you know, just so you know. And we're kind of stepping out of our regular roles and opening up to being different. And as we go, we're collecting questions. We're not looking for answers yet. We're collecting questions. And if you're signed up for the retreat, you get daily emails that break everything down for you. So, and that's like the maximum structure support. Then on the solstice, those questions we've been collecting, we pick one, you know, out of the kind of alignment of energies. We pick a question that speaks to our soul. This year, it's like what's going to help us transform. Maybe it's something about being audacious. We'll see. And then after the solstice, what comes is called a pilgrimage. And the traditional definition of pilgrimage is you go to a sacred site that others share. And, you know, maybe there's a set path. In my going, I have, you know, I go to national parks, and I kind of think that's a pilgrimage. This year, with the pandemic and wanting to care for others, not just ourselves, I mean, maybe we really won't go anywhere too special. Maybe we won't travel too far. So what makes it a pilgrimage is our intention to find the answer to the question, our openness then. And it really doesn't matter. You don't have to go somewhere exciting. Although I love to travel, so I do like to go exciting places. But and you can follow this pattern on your own. And on the Soul Path Sanctuary blog, I do put up which theme comes each week. But those of you who are signed up, or if someone wants to sign up, you do get various supports that come along. And I am going to screen share. I'm going to screen share my, not the screen, oh, sorry. There are different things that are going to support you. I think, Yasbelt, you're looking at just the Walking the Ways overview page, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a booklet that kind of includes everything you need to know, and you can just follow that and go along with that. And it outlines the themes. You can always get the Wisdom Wander General Flow, what happens every week. Here's a process that can guide you, setting your intention, picking your way showers. That's all in the little booklet. There is a little bit on each element. I took a lot of inspiration from Starhawk, so there's a lot of her grounding in this as well. And so you can always just follow along the booklet. There's also this wonderful journal that this year Yasbelt has made. And this is like a little bit more of an overview. And in the beginning of the journal, it lays out, here's kind of our schedule. We're starting today on the 24th. This is our gathering. We have our 4 weeks. And as part of the 4 weeks, every week you will get a short video that Yasbelt and I make with information and meditative approach to the element and the herb that you'll be guided to work with. And then on Sundays, that we'll have a sharing circle. And that won't be recorded. That will be for people who can come and share. Summer solstice, our Sunday meeting will be kind of a special celebration. And then on the pilgrimage week and our concluding, we will have these Sunday meetings. Yep. Wisdom Wander is our big hashtag. So, and laid out in this journal is what's going to happen each week. These are the daily emails that come. It breaks everything down. So you don't have to. Yasbelt's going to talk more about this. every day you could have just a few moments of focusing on the element and what you're doing for the wisdom water. Each week there's also a lunar component. We're following the sun, but we will tune into the moon because we love the moon. And the pilgrimage week is lined out as well. And in this, I'm skipping this part, but Yazbelt has a page for us, and the herb is outlined, and there's a little bit of journaling. So that's in the journal. And just the daily emails to kind of show what's going on with daily emails is there's always some words to inspire, an image, a prompt for practice, and then down the bottom, this blue part, this is always kind of directional things and tips and links to these pages, a link to the Facebook group, which will be a place where we can chat and exchange stories. Also a place there'll be announcements. And I think that is, I'm laying out the maximum structure. Actually, I used to work with this wonderful organizational planner, Guadalupe Guajardo, and she said maximum structure with maximum flexibility. So, just because I've done this and I've thought of things, and I'm offering those back to you as structure. But this isn't Moses coming from the mountaintop with the 10 commandments to follow. This is like a prompt for your own inspiration and innovation. And it's definitely, no one should ever feel like, oh, I've fallen behind. If you spent the whole time on one day, that would be perfect. And in fact, Yazbelt is going to talk a little bit about like the way she has modified and done things differently. Oh, you are still muted and screen sharing.
Okay. Let me show you, go back to my presentation. I'll show you a picture. Okay. So here, so Carolyn sends out an email every day and she has a suggestion of what to do. This is from 2018, one of the years that I did the Wisdom Wander, Walking the Ways. And I just read the emails every day and I journal. I like to journal every single day, but I can't get out every single day and go on a journey. Most of the time, especially when I did these, I was at work. I had to be on the subway. That's when I would read the email. Sometimes I would take some notes on my phone, and sometimes I would come home and actually journal and pick my, one thing I always do is to pick my guides or way showers, as Carolyn calls them. And I like to do a practice that Carolyn has called the Soul Path practice, where you pick a card from the major arcana, which in this case I picked the Empress, which was for Earth, and then for the path I picked the Guardian of Earth. I think this is the Guardian. I'm not sure. It is? Okay. And then I picked the Seven of Earth. And like a couple of days during the week, I was like walking around Midtown. I was going to the library. You can see here, says that I was going to the library and I saw this tree guard. And then the images that I had picked just presented themselves to me. And I just decided to make this little collage of how the Earth image can present itself at any time. So you don't have to go on a pilgrimage or make a special trip. It could just happen when you're going around your day, like running an errand. If you could even see like the Earth images at the supermarket when you're picking out your fresh fruits and vegetables. So it can happen at any time. So this was for Earth. And then when it came time for fire, I actually went to the park and I brought my cards with me. And again, I used the same practice of picking one card from the major arcana and then a card from the Earth element, 2 cards from the Earth element. I like to pick one of the numbered cards and then one of the people cards as my guides. And then I just keep them with me throughout the throughout the week. But one of the things, like a friend said, I don't have time to like work on this every day. And then I said, well, you could let a few days together and then journal all at once. You don't have to do it the same. You don't have to follow the path exactly. You can make it your own. So this is how I've made it my own. I find that it's helpful to think about the different elements and how I'm interacting with them and how I can work with them to help me in my evolution path. Yeah, that's all, Carolyn.
Nice. I mean, I do that too, like just having the cards handy. Like I have a little notebook and I stick the cards in them like every day. And sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. And I have to confess, I bet I don't do it every day. I mean, I'm sure I don't do it every day. Sometimes I save some things up. And in the emails, it's a little bit designed for like, you do the prep during the week and on the weekend, you have a little more time to be wandering. So, but as you can see, you should modify. And let's see, so I think our next piece, really we can move on to, well, oh, okay, one thing I do want to say, and then this is about movement. You know, the new moon inspired me to think about dynamic stillness. I wrote about that in a blog post. And because the Eight of Swords is, with the bound woman, is an image for this moose. And, but what happens when you're still like that is your inner movements happen. And walking the ways is designed to be, you know, have the walks, to have some outer movement mirroring the inner movement. But the time that we're in, which we may or may not be able to move as much as we'd like, we still can have that inner movement. And that's what walking the ways, this is about, ultimately supporting inner movement, even if we're moving in the outside world. So maybe, should we move on to question and answer from folks, Jess Belts, or should we, or do you want to, something else we should talk about?
I think I'll just mention also that at this time, like you said earlier, with the pandemic, you have to be a little bit more careful. So when I go out now, I wear a mask and I'm more protected, and I also try to keep social distancing. So even though it's becoming warmer and a lot more people are going out, I have a view of a bridge from my window. I noticed that now there's traffic again when there wasn't traffic for 2 months. So a lot of people are going back to normal, and you know, we're still under this. So if you do go out, and when you go out, just remember to practice with your mask and to stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. I bring my mask kind of ready to be at the ready always. All right, so maybe we'll take down the screen and see what questions there are. I think there was one in chat already. So why don't you do the raise hand function just so we can see and call on you? And I think there was, here, there is a question. We'll start with that, but feel free to be raising your hand. What was the name of the book she read from? Oh, that Yas Belts, you were reading the story from?
The Song of the Seven Herbs by Walking Nightmare and Stan Padilla.
Nice. And then Tracy's saying, I pressed out a gallon of fire cider with dandelion yesterday. Wow.
Ooh, good.
Great. Cool. Just waiting for people to raise their hands if they have any questions about how things should go. I will say, to just acknowledge a few sources and resources and inspirations. I mean, obviously we've already mentioned the Herb Crafter Tarot, which will be kind of a guide, and it's a little bit different because of the plants are in it. Like working with the Herb Crafter kind of in the winter, I would go and find a plant and then go look at the card, as opposed to my usual way of wandering. I'll take cards and hold them up to plants. So it will be interesting to see how it evolves for people if anyone's working with the Earth Crafter. I think I mentioned Starhawk, the Earth Path. It was inspirational in writing the weeks. So just to mention, I acknowledge that. And the blessing that I did, I almost forgot to say this, that the blessed and preserving element, it's inspired listening to Kathleen Matthews, the Celtic teacher. So I wanted to mention that. Okay. So I'm not seeing, oh, Cynthia has a question. So I'm unmuting Cynthia. And Cynthia, what is your question?
I don't actually have a question, but I just would want to point out that you may need to tell some people here that they can find the raised hand button under participants.
Yes, right. It's not under chat, it's under participants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. But maybe there are no other questions. Let's see.
Joanna has a question.
Is Joanna's raising her hand? Yes, okay, unmuting.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Cynthia, because I couldn't remember how to raise my hand. So that was my first question. And it's not a question, but I just wanted to tell you about how much I love that collage, the collage of the Gaian figures on the street of New York City. I really, really, really love it. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah, it was fun to
And
make
also, yeah, and thank you for the instructions on making the vinegar. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, good, good. I hope you all can make a vinegar.
Yeah.
Yes, if you make a vinegar, we're gonna have like a little cocktail party in our closing ritual.
Okay.
And it's a vinegar, and to open the door, you know, if you make, people have other things they want to make, to have a closing cocktail or something you want to pay attention to for the whole season, which is maybe where we are moving toward. We are moving toward setting intentions for the retreat. Are we good? Can we go there? I don't see any questions. Yasbel, did this bring up anything you wanted to say?
No.
Okay, so we are going to invite you and also people listening in later on the video to set an intention guided by one card for right now. Maybe you will change it or grow it. And we're just going to guide on the video, guide you through it. And then we're going to shut off the video. And those of you who are here who want to share your intention, you can share that in an unrecorded part. That's just for you. But so this is an intention for the whole retreat. And of course, it may evolve, but this is starting from today through the whole retreat. We have Dandelion guiding all of us, but like, what's your kind of personal desire of your heart, your soul? And you working with one card to help with that intention. And you can, do a shuffle and pull one by chance, but Yasbelt has a thought to offer about consciously choosing the card.
Yeah, so I thought, when you want to set an intention, sometimes you don't want to get a bad card, like what some people consider a difficult card. So another thing you can do is to just consciously choose your own card. Like maybe you want to choose the sun. You want to be happy when this happens. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to like either randomly choose or also consciously choose a card that you like. And wanting to work with that.
And you reminded me of one thing, Yasbelt. Those who have done the Descent and Return of the Light, the winter solstice one, the people have a solstice card. It's like a card you drew to pay attention to and let unfold the whole year. I mean, kind of like that dandelion image. So you could just pull out your solstice seed card and be like, oh, I'm meeting you again. How am I going to work with you this time? So, and if you don't have a solstice seed card, don't worry about it. You could pull one on the summer solstice. Okay, so our people on the live call are taking a moment to find their cards. Maybe you're tuning inside, having your thoughts. Then you're maybe turning to the cards. Maybe you're doing a little bit of journaling. And while you're doing that, Yasbelt and I are just going to wrap up the video. Just to say, for those folks who are watching the video and haven't yet signed up and would like to sign up, you can go to soulpathsanctuary.com, and the people who are signed up get the whole shebang of the overview booklets and the journal and the daily emails and the Facebook group. And Carolyn has a question. So I'm just seeing that. For a minute I was confused. I'm like, I have a question? No, I'm gonna unmute Carolyn and, I think unmute Carolyn and she could ask her question.
Yes, hi. I thought while we were in this portion of the call, just a couple of questions. When you're making the vinegar infusion, if you have the dandelion left in the cheesecloth, like, is that something you could like blend and put into like a salad dressing, or like what do you normally do with what's left in the cheesecloth? And maybe you covered that and I missed it. I'm not sure because, like I said, my internet connection goes in and out a little bit. But the other question is with the cards. So we have this overall inspiration card that we're going to use now, and then you also do the spread of the 3 cards, Carolyn, is that correct? And then you're kind of working with the 4 cards, like or do you do a card every day, like to help with your questions? Like, I'm just curious on how you can weave the cards. I understand the inspiration cards and even having like, a page and, different kind of archetypes that are helpers, right? And I'm just wondering, do we also draw like a card per day, or what would help? Or are we just working with like 4 cards?
Okay. Shall I start with this? So the card today is to help you set an intention. And then you can use this card through the whole time, or maybe just the card helped you with the intention. So however the card keeps speaking to you. Then each week you are prompted to pick different cards related to the elements. So it's different. That said, you can do whatever you want. And like, don't feel like you have to pull cards ever. You can pull cards. Yasbelt, you want to speak to like number of cards?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start with the dandelion vinegar. When I made it, I think you could like use like strain out, like squeeze the cheesecloth and maybe make like a pesto or something with it. I didn't, but I think you can. I mean, it's not like gross or anything when it comes out. It's still, you may want to try and see what it's like. I haven't used it. I see Cynthia raising her hand. Let's see. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, one of my favorite things to do with the leaf products in that process is to then add it to other fresh greens and mix it and if you're making sauteed fresh greens or something like that, include that with your spinach or your chard or whatever it is that you're sauteing in your pan.
Nice. Sounds yummy.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So
there was a second part to the question that Karen,
about the number of cards, yes.
yeah, so that I actually was talking to Carolyn about this Soul Path like spread. She doesn't mention it in any of the emails. I just got that. I don't know, when I started doing it, I just found that reading in actually Joanna's Gaian Tarot book. And since it was Carolyn doing the Walking the Ways, I just thought, oh, let me use this spread. And it's a great way for me to get to know the cards. But she doesn't say that you should pick a certain number. That's just what I did. And I like that. So I invite you to do it. But if you find your own way, then share with us. Then maybe we can adopt your way.
That's right.
Great, thank you guys.
And maybe I should put a link to that somewhere. But you said, yeah. Oh, did I say this? What are you saying, Yasbelt?
I said you could put a link in the Facebook group.
Yes, I'll put an example in the Facebook group. Did I say this yet here? I think, nothing should be a to-do. It just should help direct your attention, your focus. All right, so let's wrap up the video part. And then we, the folks on live, we will stay here a little longer sharing our intentions, and we could chat a little more about dandelion things. But if you're not yet signed up for the course, you can do that on soulpathsanctuary.com. There are 3 levels. You know, if you're been impacted by COVID-19, it's $17. That's our star gift to people. Then there's a middle way, 47, or a sustaining way, 97. But should be super affordable for people. But to close, we thought we would close with the dandelion. And I'm going to hold up the image, and Yasbel's going to read from the Herb Crafter book. It's a little bit of our closing invitation, blessing, sending us all on our way, walking the ways.
The world is full of adventure, open to what you have never known before. Like the dandelion seeds that float freely in all directions. Trust the changing winds as you embark on a new journey. The bright yellow flowers are bold and lively. Be as audacious and spirited in your explorations. Often thought of as a weed, dandelion is an inviting first medicine for a new herbalist. Keep your mind open. Be willing to experience life as a beginner. Be a pioneer.
All right. And may the dandelion guide you on beautiful walking the ways. And we shall see you next week. Okay. So now I'm just stopping the